Alright, so we kind of know how expensive video gear can get, and especially if you're getting a range of lenses, or at least thinking of getting a range of lenses, they're not exactly cheap. However, Dan's given me a couple of cheap lenses to go around town testing out to see basically what I make of it, and if you can really get away with a cheap video setup. Everything was shot on the A6000 and, well, a few of these lenses, so have a look. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that little edit, albeit the beginning parts were a little bit quick cuts, but towards the middle and the end, hopefully there's enough kind of footage there to allow you to really see and have a look at what the A6000 is capable of in terms of video capability. Within this cheap setup, there were only 3 lenses I actually used. One of them was the Meike 28 2.8, priced at about $85 US. Another one was a Meike 50 f2, priced at around $80 US. And then lastly, an Opteka 85 1.8, roughly about $100 US. Now I had to buy an extra adapter for that, so that F to NEX adapter cost roughly around $25 US. And then of course the A6000, which we managed to get secondhand for roughly $250 US. Total cost of this whole setup, $540 US. Total cost of a brand new A6000, $500 US. So 28 f 2.8 E-mount, and I use this for pretty much all the wide shots that I needed, and it was pretty good. It captured enough information, but then again not too much as to kind of convolute the visuals. So that was pretty good. So alright, so the next lens is the 50 f2, which is a relatively faster lens. This is what equivalent to a 75mm. So this I didn't use as much. It was probably like the 3rd most used lens out of the lot. The reason being for that is, of course, this guy here, and I'll explain that in a bit. It's got quite a good weight to it. It feels pretty good, cool to the touch. I think it's made out of something. Oh, it'll be here. It's made out of something. I think these Meike lenses are made to look kind of like premium lenses with ghetto prices. One thing good to note on these lenses, the Meike lenses at least, is that the aperture ring is declicked. So basically it's a smooth transition all the way from f22 to f2. And that was quite nice for video as well. Now we come up to this little guy here. This is the Opteka. I haven't even heard of this brand. This is a weird brand. Opteka 1.8. So this is a pretty fast lens, and the equivalent 35mm would be 1.4. Okay, so the equivalent is 127.5. I use this the most out of the lot. Not saying that it's better than the 50. It really depends what you're shooting in video. But I was doing a lot of street shooting, and you know, the further away I was, the less awkward it was kind of going up to people and shooting them. And also I wanted to get most bang for my buck. So with the 50, again, a little bit wider than I wanted. So this is a pretty decent tight focal length. So the thing to note about this lens, I think it only comes in EF and F mount. So one thing you could do is just get a cheap adapter for anything else, right? So like, for example, an EF to NEX adapter, and then the EF version of this Optica lens. And then you can use all of other Canon's glasses in conjunction with this. With this lens, the Optica lens, it's a little bit more ghetto than the others. At least the Meike ones, they kind of make a little bit more effort to look nice, whereas this one, they literally put no effort to looking decent at all. I don't think this looks like a very nice lens. Now, one thing others to note is that with these lenses, you know, from f about 8 or 10 onwards, well, especially with the 50 here as well, there's a significant drop from 8 to 22, and also this aperture ring is clicked also, so it's, you can kind of manage to set it in between 10 to 22, but it's, you have to really work your fingers to keep it on a value in between. Also, with that focal length, it is the most significantly shaky one. It's the most obviously shaky footage out of the lot because you're a lot tighter in, you don't have anything to stabilize, and the image you get out of it is just very shaky, I have to be honest with you. So one thing very important to note about this setup, especially if you're looking to get a little bit more serious into video, is that these are all manual focus lenses. That's important because pretty much in most video shoots, everything is done using manual focus, right? It's very, unless it's a vlog. So this is just one thing you're gonna have to take into account when you're getting into video, is that you really do have to rely on manual focusing. So now we come to the camera itself. Now this A6000, if you're aware, is a pretty good photography camera. Not extremely well known for their video capabilities, but it does record in full 1080p, both 25 frames per second and 50 frames per second, or if you're using NTSC, it will be 24 and 60, I assume. Another good thing about the A6000 is that it does have focus peaking, which is great. A lot of Canon cameras, as you know, don't have focus peaking, but this is great because it's relatively, you could say, beginner video setup, but it still has stuff like zebras, focus peaking. So one thing to note is that the video bitrate for the A6000 isn't super high. It's about 24 megabits on 25 FPS, and then 28 megabits per second on 50 FPS, I believe, which isn't super high, but then again, for what you might need to use an A6000 for, which is still relatively basic video camera, it should be enough. I mean, from the video quality when I was editing, I didn't notice anything that was noticeably bad. You know, the footage was pretty decent for what I needed to use it for. I think we've all heard that saying that gear isn't everything, but then again, gear is something, because, for example, with this A6000, it doesn't have a lot of things. For example, no 4K, which isn't super necessary if you just want to start out cheapish and get just a camera that can shoot video, but other things it doesn't have: IS. So even though IS is something that I would prefer in my video shooting, it's one of those things that you don't have to have, especially if you have a tripod with you. But one even more important thing is that it has no mic input. But because of that, you're going to have to rely on the inbuilt mic system here, or you're going to have to get an external audio solution, which basically hikes up the price you pay for this video solution. So that's something you have to really keep into mind. A few more things that this doesn't have: it doesn't have any specific video log profiles or cinematic look profiles. What it does have is normal photography stills profiles, which is like standard, vivid, natural scenery, portrait, stuff like that. I used natural, and everything was -3 on all the contrast, saturation and sharpness. It just gives me a little bit extra wiggle room in post coloring, but it doesn't actually add any extra dynamic range. It's just as it is, right? So all in all, this is the beginnings of a very decent video setup. If you're looking to get into that, if you basically already have an A6000 for stills and you're thinking maybe I want to get into video work, this isn't bad at all to start learning from without basically breaking your bank. Now, that's not to say that this camera option is the only video option available. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that this is just one example of a relatively cheaper option that you could consider if you're going to video. So think about this, where you're getting one camera body that shoots full 1080p in 25 and 50 FPS. You're getting a very tight focal length with an adapter, by the way. You've got kind of a mid-range focal length that's a little bit tighter as well, and then you've got something that's a little bit wider. So this lens right here is a Samyang 12 f2. I actually didn't use this at all, actually. I felt it was a little bit too wide from what I needed. The 35mm equivalent, I think, was 18. This will set you back roughly $300 US, I believe, on that kind of margin. So in terms of what you want to pay, it's not super expensive, but then again, it's not super cheap either. And the whole premise of this video is to introduce these very cheap lenses. So this I didn't actually use. I used maybe 5%, and I didn't even include that in the edit, because for me, in terms of the run and gun shoot, it had a bit too much information in the shot and not enough direction in terms of what I wanted to show to you guys, the audience, right? So this I'll put aside and say that is something that you don't have to go for, but I didn't really use it that much. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Feel free to leave any questions in the comments below, and also feel free to make any suggestions on what you feel a pretty ideal but basic / cheap video setup would be in your mind.